Hello everybody, Jace coming to you live once again from San Diego Comic-Con, here with one of my favorite people on the planet, Mark Waid.
Thank you.
Not just one of my favorite creators, but you and I, we have such similar values when it comes to Superman and superheroes and what they are. Finally, a bucket list item checked off.
Yep.
You're going to be doing Action Comics.
Finally, after all these years, exactly. And it's been a blast so far. It's been a secret project for a while. I've been working on it for almost a year. And the idea is that Clayton Henry's going to take over the art, and we are going to do 12 weekly issues and just bang that sucker out. But with a rapid, fast pace that befits a comic called Action Comics.
Well, one of the things I've loved about what you've done with Dan Mora, you have been working on Superman over in Batman Superman.
Oh yeah.
Such a timeless feel. If you just want to read that, you don't need to know what's going on in the larger DC universe.
Yeah.
Is that going to be the goal with Action, or is it going to be tied more in with what's going on?
It's a little tied in, but what we're doing is because Clayton can't. There's only so much we can do with Clayton on a weekly basis without him snapping.
Right.
So about 15 pages of every issue is the ongoing Superman story, and then about 5 pages to each issue is subplot stuff. So we will be able to see meanwhile, what's going on with Connor, what's going on with Container, what's going on with some of the other super characters, what's going on with Lois and Perry and so forth. So, but that said, the main Superman story, it is in continuity, but you don't really have to be tied into what's been going on in the Superman books now.
Fair enough. Yeah, and so many things going on.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about Justice League and Absolute Power, but one more thing about Action. So we also know we're getting a Supergirl story as a backup to start.
Yeah.
Are you talking to the creators? Is there a conscious effort, I guess I should say, to really do some kind of cross events between the backups, or are they just completely separate?
Not really. Although I'm so thrilled to be sharing the book with Marika because she's awesome. She is such a talented writer. So I'm part of the reason I'm here at the show is I want to meet her for the first time and have a conversation.
Right on. Cool. So is her run going to run throughout all 12 as well?
I honestly don't know.
Okay. It'll be interesting to see because, Mariko's fantastic.
Yeah.
Her Supergirl being super was amazing. So
have you read Louisa Then and Now?
I have not.
It is the best graphic novel I've read in 5 years.
Wow.
It came out about 4 years ago from Humanoids, and it is just Louisa Then and Now. Go get it.
Well, let's talk about Justice League. Justice League Unlimited, big announcement at the panel yesterday. The Watchtower is coming back.
Yep.
So, I was live tweeting on the panel, and the number one question I got, everyone wanted to know, what's the lineup? What's the lineup? Who's on the team? And it's sort of a loaded question because maybe it's based on mission. Maybe people come in and out.
It is mission based. I mean, who's on the team? Anybody who wants to be. If you're a superhero or a costume crime fighter in the DC universe that and you basically pass your ethics test, you're a member of the Justice League. And when Superman asks people to be a member of the Justice League, they're not going to say no.
Is it a chance for you, because your DC lore is deep, the knowledge, and just your love of not just Superman, Batman, whatever, but go down the list, Blue Devil or, whomever.
But when I started World's Finest, my wish list was about 3 pages long of characters that either you hadn't heard from for a while or characters who I thought maybe hadn't been... Maybe they hadn't gotten the best, most accurate focus in a while. And so being able to do that with World's Finest, we've been able to do it story by story. But now we get to throw open the doors to all of the, not just the A-listers and B-listers, but also some of the C-listers that you are not that familiar with, but I think can really level up.
Was that the reason that you decided to build it out this way, or was it editorial?
It was editorial, but we were fine. I mean, Paul Kaminsky is my editor on this, and we think very much in lockstep. So if he hadn't pitched it this way, I'm sure I would have.
Great minds think alike, right?
Yeah.
Well, what leads into the Justice League coming back? And we can't exactly say, we don't want to spoil the event of Absolute Power and what Darkseid learns or what have you. But talk a little bit about the reception of Absolute Power, and I'm sure you've probably heard feedback here at the con.
I'm stunned at how well it's being received. I'm very happy. I mean, again, Dan Mora. You can't go wrong with Dan Mora. But people really dig what we're doing. And a large part of the outcome of Absolute Power feeds directly into the Justice League book, in the sense of when the dust settles, a couple of things are happening. One of them being the Justice League realizing that maybe we wouldn't have been caught unawares as much as we were if we had been talking to each other, if we'd had communication open. I mean, we hit upon that in the first issue to some degree, but it becomes more and more apparent that they're not gelling the way they used to, which is part of the problem. So that leads into Justice League, and also there's something that happens at the end of Absolute Power that becomes the Justice League's primary mission right off the bat. A mystery that needs to be solved pretty quickly, or else bad things are going to happen.
One of the other things that we talked about last time we had you on the show was you mentioned how additive these other people doing the task force title have been. So we just had, I think, the second issue or third issue come out, the one that John Layman wrote, or Atlantis and what have you. Brilliant idea that the fact that Amazo robot kind of loses control because he's got this weird amalgamation of Beast Girl's powers and Aquaman's powers, and the sharks are there, and it kind of
overwhelms him.
Yeah. So when you first heard that idea from John,
all the ideas, and I mean this, all the ideas that have come from the writers of the Task Force books have been great, and many of them have fed then back into the main series. Like somebody coming up with a realization about how these Amazos work, or something they could be doing that I hadn't thought of, ends up playing back in. Because I was super dead set on making sure that the Task Force series, that the Amanda Waller series, that anything that the Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman tie-ins, that all of them specifically feed back into the book. It's like a Jenga. You can't take any of those books out and feel like you got the whole story. None of them are, I didn't have to read that. No, I mean, you can just, if you want to just read Absolute Power, you'll get a complete story. But if you really want the depth of it and you want to see how far this and how wide the story can go, I encourage you to step in, and you won't feel cheated because some of them are fetch quests, some of them are character development stuff, but all of those books feed back into the main series with a purpose.
Well, when you have cool ideas like what John came up with, of course I want to read. That's just adding to it. And talk about the richness and the depth. I mean, we're really talking about building up to Absolute Power. It's been a long journey, because it's really been the journey of Amanda Waller to get to where she is. She's just more despicable than ever. And one of the things that I think I mentioned this to you was I was curious to read Ridley if he could make Amanda more sympathetic. To me.
He can't. Look, I intentionally let John do a lot of the heavy lifting there, because with 92 heroes and 14 villains and so forth in all the main series, I've worked hard within the series to make it clear that Waller is not just a one-dimensional mustache-twirling villain, but it helps me to know that John is backstopping me there. And that Origins book he's writing for Amanda is terrific.
No, it's fantastic. The first issue, he took me completely the other way. I thought maybe I was going to relate to her more. Instead, I didn't think it was possible. Somehow I dislike her. I hate her even more.
And yet, she's not done anything really wrong in that first issue. She's just following her own moral code, and you can make a case for why she's doing it.
I just didn't think it was possible. But that's the amazing thing about comics, right? And as a creator, you're just trying to engender reaction and emotion.
Exactly,
yeah.
But without cheapening the character, or without selling the character out.
Yes, exactly. So her nature, the Machiavellian plan she puts in place, just amazing. Just amazing. So, but to kind of build on that, how long it's been on the table. So, in terms of going from Amanda's journey to this Absolute Power. Then into All In, like this is not an accident that it's happening.
No, this has all been churning for a while. This has all been churning kind of since the beginning of the Dawn of DC initiative. And it was really, obviously you've seen Amanda's footprint in all of the DC books with even subtle stuff like what she's been doing in Flash, that closing down Terrifitech or closing down the Flash Museum. Little things she's been doing in some of these other books that have, and certainly what she did in Titans with Beast World, she's been laying the groundwork for a while. And it wasn't until Paul and Josh Williamson and a few others of us looked around and said, we got Brainiac Queen over here, and we got Failsafe over here, and we got Amanda here. They would really make a hell of a triumvirate of terror. So that was the natural culmination of all this stuff.
But being that it's been such a long runway, now that you can finally talk about it, I mean, obviously we're not spoiling, everything,
right.
But we know that All In's coming. We know, the Absolute universe is coming. We know it's going to be a good jumping on point in October for anybody. I mean, jump on now. But if there's a particular book, it'll be a really easy place for people
That's
to come back.
exactly. On the other side of absolute power, the idea is, again, all in DC. All in, like, if it's a rejuvenation, it's a refreshing. Creative teams changing on some books, just getting back to the goal of presenting the characters in their purest forms, and they're just like, this is the quintessential version of this character.
And now you get to talk about it with guys like me.
Yeah, exactly.
That's got to be like finally, right?
Finally, I'm able to get this off my chest. Yes. Yeah.
Well, it's been great chatting with you, Mark. Anything else you want our audience to know about Absolute Power or All In?
Or Batman and Robin Year One?
Yes, Batman and Robin with Samnee.
Chris Samnee.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was on my list to mention. I forgot. So let's talk about Samnee's art first, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, he did some covers when you were doing the Titans kind of origin, which was also amazing, because it was because we're retelling of their origin, but in modern day when they got cell phones and internet, social media, what have you. Now we're doing Batman and Robin. His art style is so classic.
Yep.
So the fact that not just covers but interiors.
Yeah.
When you were pitched the project, or when you pitched it, or they came to you and talked about artists, was he the first one that came to mind for you?
It was actually reversed. Chris came to me and said, I want to do this, because it's his dream project.
Oh, wow.
And so, absolutely, anybody would be an idiot not to sign on with Chris. And we have such a great working relationship after all these years with Daredevil and Black Widow and Captain America and all the other stuff we've done, that I jumped aboard immediately. But we both had the same love. We both love that classic Bruce and Dick dynamic, and yet we found wrinkles on their relationship that nobody has ever found before, and nobody's ever touched upon before, and points of friction that maybe you hadn't considered between the two of them as Robin starts out his career. It's a blast. And again, the fact that it's Chris's dream project, that enthusiasm is just so contagious.
Yeah, how long has it been it's been a number of years since you guys have done something together.
Wow, whenever we finished Captain America up, it would have been at least 4 years ago.
Yeah.
It was in the before times. Yeah.
But you guys just fell back in like
yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, that's so fantastic. And the other thing about going back, and you do it so well, one of the things, if you're a huge DC fan, you're also kind of a continuity nerd, right?
Yeah.
I don't want people to go back and change things that then contradict, what came before. This is all additive.
Really, it's all supposed to be additive. I mean, there are times when we can't dance between the raindrops as much as I would like us to.
Right.
And in Batman and Robin Year One, you may see villains that in the 40s maybe didn't appear until after Dick was in the costume for a while.
Right.
But by and large, we're playing in that spirit of it. And I just want to do it's the Hippocratic Oath. I just want to do no harm. Mm-hmm. Like I treasure that continuity. I trust that continuity. It's the stuff that I know, and without a firm basis of continuity, you've got readers running around just knowing if this counts or does this matter, or is this an important story. And this is Batman Year One, Batman and Robin Year One. Continuity. Basically, this is going forward. This is the new story.
You mentioned it being about the dynamic between Bruce and Dick, and that relationship, certainly if you look back on, the golden age, very vanilla, they always got along, that sort of thing. But then you look at more of the modern stories with Dick finally branching out on his own, what have you. You sort of have that knowledge of who Dick becomes to go back and really explore that relationship in a different way. Would you say that's accurate?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things we hit upon that I didn't ever think about before, I don't think anybody's thought about before, is the friction that comes from the fact, right off the bat, that Batman is a solo character. In his own mind, he has no interest in having a partner. He thinks he's at his best when he has no one else at his side. Conversely, you think about it, Dick Grayson as an aerialist, as a circus acrobat, as a tightrope walker, a trapeze artist, his life, every night under that circus tent, his life depended upon having a partner and partnership. So the two of them trying to figure out how to square that circle is a big part of the friction of the series. They get along okay, but they don't necessarily like each other all that well from the get-go. And it's going to take a while to build that relationship.
See, that's a fantastic idea to explore, because it's so complicated and relatable in sort of real life. Yeah. And you juxtapose that against this classic art that Samnee has that
Yeah.
would have been perfectly suited for the golden age.
Oh,
with
yeah.
the clean lines and what have you.
Yep.
I think you guys will hit on something really special.
Thank you.
So yes, thank you for reminding us.
You bet.
Yeah, of course we'll be reviewing it every week on our DC Spotlight, everybody, when it drops. So Mark, great chatting with you.
Always a pleasure, sir.
Yeah.